Sabah al-khair. Right now we're going to talk about how to negate verbs with a past tense meaning in formal Arabic using the particle lam. If you watched our last video on conjugating verbs in the past and the other video on negating verbs, you remember that one way we can negate verbs with a past tense meaning is by using the particle ma plus the conjugated past tense, al-madi, as we say in Arabic. For example, if we wanted to say, he didn't read the book, one way we could say that is ma qara'a al-kitab. And this is an acceptable written form, but there's another way of negating the past in formal Arabic. Instead of using ma and the conjugated past tense, we use lam plus al-mudari'a al-majzoom. Al-mudari'a al-majzoom is a variation on the conjugated present tense. Here we have a chart using the formal Arabic verb for to do, yaf'al, conjugated in marfu' and mansub and majzoom. And you'll notice that there are minor differences in the verb endings, and we can use this same template for any verb that we like. So, one other way to express this idea, he didn't read the book, ma qara'a al-kitab, would be to say instead, lam yaqra' al-kitab. And since lam needs to be followed by al-mudari' al-majzoom, if we were reading this text fully vocalized, reading it aloud, we would have to include a sukoon yaqra', or we would need to write our sukoon there. Lam yaqra' al-kitab. There is no final dhamma, there is no final kasra like in these other conjugated mudari'a forms. We can only use majzoom after lam. It's important to remember that there is no functional difference in meaning between these two, right? They're exactly equivalent. Let's take another example. If we wanted to say, they didn't live in Cairo. One way we could say that, again, is to use ma and the conjugated past tense. Ma sakanu fil Qahira. If we wanted to use lam and al-mudari' al-majzoom, we would render it instead like this. Lam yaskunu fil Qahira. Again, exactly equivalent in meaning. And if they're exactly equivalent in meaning, you might be tempted to simply rely on ma and the conjugated past tense verb to get your meaning across. However, a lot of native speakers of Arabic say that they feel that lam plus the majzoom is kind of a more refined and elegant way to express the same idea, the idea of negating the past. That ma kind of has an informal flavor, probably because it's closer to the way we would negate the past tense in dialects like Egyptian or Levantine. So if you are looking for that refined sensibility to include in your own formal writing and speech, it's a good idea to use lam and mudari' al-majzoom to express that idea in the appropriate context.